Hey guys, so this is going to be my Anhur guide. I haven't done one for Anhur ever, and I know people have been requesting it for a long time, so I'm going to be doing it. This guy's going to go over building, leveling, a kit breakdown, and some gameplay highlights of myself with intricate detail on the kit usage and why I did it. Anhur is obviously a physical hunter. He's probably the second best hunter in the game right now in ADC. Can be played in support, has been played in support. But I'll be going into that in more detail later on. So the idea of Anhur support's been floated around for a long time, and a lot of people have hesitation when they think about a non-guardian warrior being support. And there are some rebuttals to that, obviously. If gods like Hel, Aphrodite, Iset, Baron can be supports with the limited crowd control they have. Obviously, these gods do have healing and shielding, which is definitely more upfront heal for your teammates. Anhur provides an aggressive option. The physical protection reduction applying on his autos 2s and 4. 20 early game is extremely broken. Bearing in mind your base stats early game is around 18, I think, for Anhur. So 18 for Anhur. That's just it. If you're an Anhur and you're autoing any other hunter, you're reducing the prots to 0. That affects off minion damage, your damage, and your enemy and your ally hunter's damage as well. Extremely broken. That scales well through the late game too, as we're going to discuss later on in the builds. Secondly, his Shifting Sands is one of the best denial of area abilities in the game. It's big, it's girthy, it lasts a long amount of time. The damage buff actually isn't that important for Anhur because you're not building a lot of power, but the AoE slow, which is going down to 35% next patch, 7 seconds. One of the most crucial things about the Shifting Sands ability that people must realize is that, oh, that was very posh of me. The cooldown's 14 seconds by base, but because the duration is 7 seconds, it actually goes on cooldown the second you place it. So it's a 7-second downtime on the ability. You can't bring it down, but it doesn't matter if you get good with the ability. It's got a very short cooldown. Anhur 2, one of the highest base damage in the game for a physical ability. The stun duration is not too important. Again, 0.1 per rank doesn't really mean much, but 365 base damage on a relatively short cooldown. It's a knockback, it's a pace, it's great for buffs early. Again, you apply protection reduction to all the buffs. It's great for early game. Your jump, fantastic safety, fantastic interrupt. If you're peeling for your carries late game, a good alt up-down jump will do the job. An up-down jump into a knockback away, and then a 1 and body block. The enemy cannot get on your backline. It's impossible. Are we going to have some gameplay highlights late game where you can use it in that way? But Anhur's jump is one of the best jumps in the game, actually. It's very hard to play against. And then finally, we've got his ultimate. Now, Anhur's ult is a bit of a different story, and I can understand people say, oh, Anhur's not a support. Look at his ult. The thing about Anhur's ultimate is that it hits so hard. It's insane how hard this ability hits. I actually used to build Titan's Bane on him back in the day, and I would just ult people late game. That works fine. If you get the 40% penetration off on the base damage. Again, 165 times 8 is insane. It applies. I think it's the second highest base damage ultimate ability in the game on physicals. I think I said that more in this guide though. This is just to kill people, really. I mean, you can just kill people with damage, and let's say late game you get 4 autos off the Nexi and you end up ulting the enemy support. You will hit them for 700. You will on a backliner for 1000 late game with this ability, depending on your production. But really, kill potential is not a bad thing in support. We see Nijar support work quite well. We see guys like Fenrir. You can just kill people yourself. Anhur's kit has a lot of numbers attached to it. The 1 increases in slow duration and damage increase. The 2 increases damage and stun duration. The 3 increases damage and reduces cooldown. And the ult obviously is insane damage per rank. With Anhur, due to his 2 being his only damaging ability outside of the ultimate, even though his 3 does damage doesn't count, we're going to be putting a lot of points into Impale because it's going to give you a lot of fight potential early game, securing buffs, whether it's your own or enemies. It's a lot of damage. It's 65 damage base per rank, I believe. But I might be wrong on that. I'm not checking it. So with Anhur, you always start with your 2. It's a piercing ability. It applies the prot shred for your hunter. You always want to get jump second. With the level 2 start in season 11 now, it's just really important to have the double knockback and the safety for yourself. It allows you to disrupt hunters clearing the wave. It allows you to play safe in case you get ganked. Really good to start with. You have 2 ways to level here. I recommend if you're winning lane to double level the 2 here. And the reason for that is that it gives you really good buff secure on the Naga camp and the prot camp. You don't have a lot of secure on if you don't have a lot of pressure, I'd recommend just leveling the 1 rank 3. Either way, at the level 4, you always want this setup with 2 points in Impale. Obviously, your ultimate, and it's very easy to level from here. Obviously, maxing Impale whenever you can. Otherwise, put points in Shifting Sands. Otherwise, put points in Desert Fury. So again, Desert Fury priority number 1, Impale priority number 2, Shifting Sands priority number 3, and then Disperse priority number 4. Disperse, I mean, it's fine to have the cooldown, but it really doesn't mean much late game. 15 seconds down to 13, only decreasing 0.5. Not that impactful. The reason you're putting points in your ultimate at level 9 and 13, which is the earliest you can do it, is simply because the damage increase is insane. I shit you not, it's the highest damage, second highest damage in the game from a physical hunter, physical god in the game, compared to Guan Yu. I shit you not when I say it's the second highest base physical damage ability in the game as an ultimate compared to Guan Yu, which obviously is way harder. It's definitely more than Hui and Amaterasu, which are the ones that come to mind. But that is how I level on her support. On her support is very easy to build as well. With the readjustment of all the support star items from Sentinel's Gift, Benevolence, Learner's Mask, and War Flag, you're never building Protector's Mask. You're always going to be building War Flag. Again, you're going to be having yourself as a hunter. You're going to be playing with a hunter in dual lane. You get so much use out of this attack speed with your penetration. We're always starting War Flag. On her, you have 2 ways to go. You can either start Cloak or Thieves. I don't like any other start besides this. You want these 2 items. I would recommend going Cloak. You do have the in-hand ranged in-hand damage, which procs your Cloak, gives you a bit more safety and a bit more CDR as well for your abilities, which are all very useful. And I would recommend obviously going 4 health to multi, not that mana intensive. So I've put Cloak there, but you know what I mean. This is a tier 1. You want to back for it whenever you can. So after you get Cloak, let's imagine this is your start and you finish your Prophetic Cloak. You've upgraded that in game. You have a few ways to go, which I will show you the ones that I do. The items you can build second are between Void Shield, Shoguns, and Exi. In the past, I have done Executioner, and I would build into the Heavy Exi upgrade. They have removed that in Season 11 for Envenomed, which is the better version late game, but early game it's a lot worse. The only reason why you would go Heavy Exi early game is because it would allow your hunter to skip Executioner themselves, because it overcapped penetration from theirs, so they wouldn't have to build it. So it's really efficient early game. However, with them removing Heavy Exi, I would recommend not going Exi second anymore. Instead, going for a Void Shield or a Shoguns. Void Shield versus 3 physical, Shoguns versus 3 magical. Very simple. After that, you can either choose to go the Executioner or the other type. If they are 4 physical, you can double dip for a Midgardian or a Breastplate. But I honestly would still recommend going Shoguns. Shoguns is really, really good for on-her support. 40% attack speed. It's good for your allies as well. One thing about this build that you have to realize, it's not that selfish, okay? So let's assume the standard build that I built actually is Void Shield, Shoguns, Exi. It's going to have a Binding in there. My Prophetic and my War Flag will be the full build. So these are my 6 items. You have the War Flag passive here, or let's do Spartan Flag or War Banner. I recommend War Banner. War Banner gives your allies attack speed, movement speed, healing. Cloak, 20 of each prots. 15 of each prots late game. Void Shield, 10% penetration. Shoguns, attack speed for your team. Exi is going to be anti-healed, anti-shield, and penetration reduction. And it stacks additively with Void Shield. And then you've got Binding as well. So when we're doing penetration calculations here, protections, imagine an enemy support has 300 protections. The thing that's going to apply first is not your flat penetration reduction on your passive, it's actually Void Shield and Exi. So if they have 300 prots and you reduce it by 38%, now, I haven't got the number offhand here because I can't do that maths that quickly. But as you can see, they're already coming down from 300. 10% of that would be... I have to work on the maths on that. Void Shield and Executioner together. Don't worry, the cut there definitely wasn't doing the maths on my monitor. It's 38% protection reduction, which applies first. Percentages apply first, then flat applies afterwards, as with any type of calculation in Smite. So if they have 300 physical protections, you're taking it down to 208 already with just those 2 items, assuming you hit the 4 autos, which isn't easy, but let's assume you do. Then you have your on her passive, which is minus 20, and you have Binding, which late game is minus 16, I believe. So we're going from 300 down to roughly, you've got another... So this build is actually very unselfish. You have the War Banner healing, attack speed, movement speed buff, the prophetic protection aura, the void shield penetration reduction, protection reduction, the Shogun's attack speed aura, the executioner anti-shield, anti-healed, and penetration reduction. Protection reduction again. You have the binding, which is area of the which applies off your 1, applies off horrific, applies off your 2, applies off your 3. So when we take into account all this penetration, imagine your ADC is hitting a tank with 300 physical protections with no penetration. With this build, you take down their protections to 168. So is that not insane? It's a minus 132 protections from just you alone off of 4 autos. So that means they don't have to go XT if they don't want to. It means you've increased their attack speed massively. This applies really well on squishies as well, with the 16 from binding and the 20 from your passive. The amount of penetration reduction you have will always be enough to justify going full physical, which is why I think Anhur is one of the best supports in the game right now. Obviously there is relics included here as well. Relics this year are very easy right now, even with the horrific nerf next patch. I'm always recommending you go horrific first on every god that goes aggressive. He's not a meditation character. He's either a sprint, gel, or a bracer character. It's one of these 3 second, always horrific first. The amount of, again, binding applies off of your horrific, and your 1, and your 2, and your 3. So that's how I build on her support in Season 11. So we have a fight breaking now here. Our team's on fire. We're stepping up really early. I have wasted pillar. Here, I'm in a weird position. I try and get the horrific off on all 3. The Hachi dashes in, which is not a big problem. But again, I've split their team fight up already now. Their backline split up, their frontline split up. I horrific both of them, and I ult here to try and reduce the shields. Again, 109 without my XE applied. That's his prop buff gone. It's a 400 shield, just gone, instantly like that. Again, getting Spartan Flag everywhere on the ground. I haven't had the best pillar usage. I would sprue here if I had it upgraded. Unfortunately, I didn't. I just came out of base. Pop my sprint here. Now, auto-attacking here would be really easy if you were a normal hunter because you might kill them. I see Cuckoo running in a straight line, trying to throw out my pillar, body block him, and apply my XE in the meantime while the gun is clapping. And I'm applying my XE the entire time. And again, jumping where I want to deny the space. Could have gone a little bit further forward there and it would have knocked him back. But either way, 1 HP there off of the pillar stun. And then it gives my Morrigan a set of free kill on them. So your job really is to reduce procs wherever you can. And it shows that ulting the backliner there, if you can't see the frontliner, it's definitely worth it. And again, I hit the Titan here for 77. After I apply all my protections, it goes from 77 to 100. So that's a big increase. That's almost a 30% damage increase off my XC and my Anhur passive. And the game's over. But if you imagine that the 23 damage increase of 77, if you imagine Hunter late game is hitting for, let's say, 220 or something, they're going to get a 60 damage increase per auto based off the penetration you're providing. Now that's going to nullify any protections that the enemy team's going to build for the honor support. So I'm going to be discussing some Smite clips here. So you notice the enemy team walking up here when they're half HP. We're probably getting ganked, so I do a little 180. See, we're getting engaged on. He does get a double Erlang taunt here. As I pop my horrific to reduce the damage, I pierce the Erlang away from my teammate while applying the 2 on the Nijar, which gives me a free penetration shred and the ult damage. I do jump in here to get close to place my pillar, try and place it in between the enemy. It does body block some of the autos from the Erlang. Unfortunately, my Heim does die here, but putting the pillar in between your enemies is a really good way of blocking abilities and autos. I do believe if that Erlang auto did miss, there was a small chance that he might have lived there. But again, that shows that you want to be careful with the 2. The ult does a lot of damage, and using your 1 to body block and pillar block enemies, and then I end up trying to go for a tower play here, but nothing really ever happened from that. Alright, and next up we have another Anhur clip here, body blocking the Hachio with another pillar, again putting it tight to the wall, popping my horrific, and then as you can see, I like weaving an auto in before I ult, just to make sure I get the full passive of my full passive for the prop reduction. I do finish the kill off there, a little bit greedy. But again, I'm spamming attack here because I know that I'm reducing the protections of this Erlang here. I think the Erlang might build damage this game, placing my 1 in between area of the Nile. The Erlang moves at 0 movement speed after he's autoing. And again, I keep trying to apply my passive if I can. The Erlang pops his 1 here, so I assumed he was going back in again. He didn't, he dashed away, but I jumped just in case to try and deny him some space there. So, in this clip, we got to pick on the Bologna, and last recalled that we were getting flanked by the Bologna. I believe Cuckoo just respawned at this point. That's why we weren't bothered about the Cuckoo coming in. So I jump over the wall to threaten the Erlang here. And because he wants to run away, he put his 3 close to the wall. I put my pillar close to the wall. Now, it's not the best against Erlang because he is slow immune. I pop my horrific there to reduce his shield, as well as slow him, because I know his slow immunity's down. I ult him a little bit. I do pillar into the wall here, go for a little bit of a body block while I'm still autoing. Even though it's not doing a lot of autos, it's still pro reduction, okay? I don't have Mexi at this point. It's not that much damage. The safest place to run is to run into the jungle, so I jump that and knock him away. Deny that area. I know his 3's coming up soon. I know it's around the same corner as my 1, just off game knowledge. So I place my 1 here preemptively, and boom, straight into the pillar. You can see my little clown laugh. You can see how much damage I'm doing. My autos weren't doing too much, but 72 times 8 is a lot of damage if you hit a lot of them. And again, that's no executioner. That is fire and 500 pot, to be fair, but no XE. But again, double use of the penetration there. So here we saw the Bologna appear and teleport for a second, so we run over. We teleport through. I jump after seeing the back animation, roughly predict where her back was, and I think I stopped it. So I ult just to check. I see damage number come up. I know that her back stopped. I interrupt the Bologna. We do stack double CC here, but it shouldn't be a problem because last pulls Baron ult correctly. Interrupt the teleport, and again here, she's already got low. I have my horrific up, and she has ult. We assume she has ult here, so if I horrific her, she's going to ult it. So I don't want to do that because it's my best crowd control. We know she wants to jump over the wall. Pillar for area of denial. She feels forced to jump. I follow with my jump. Insta pop horrific because I'm in range. Disarm, so I don't auto. I wait to just get a better 2 range on her. And then again, we just auto her down here. Going from 67. Again, with no XC. I'm still increasing my own damage here. And straight pillar into the wall. You can see here, we're about to start sieging Right Phoenix with a 3-man advantage. I put my pillar area of denial, tried to pillar block, didn't end up working out. I do apply my prot reduction, and I do get a little jump in here. I see my Morrigan in mid, and my set's ready to dive if he wants to. I apply a bit of prot reduction and just an area of denial. I mean, it feels really bad for the enemy when the Anhur gets to walk up like that and be an idiot. So I do cause some threat here. I think I do get low, but I think I'm alive anyway. Thing is, you can play this when you're really far ahead. So it's a little bit of a Mickey Mouse example, but just showing that like the jump can be used to initiate and to disrupt. And don't be scared to get involved if you are playing on to support. You know, you are tanky to a certain extent. And straight after the Erlang, we're going to go straight into a siege here. We have 20 seconds on 3 people. No wave in yet, so it's not the best, but I'm going to tank this still. We still have Shoguns and a Hunter. I did go Spartan flag this game. I think I was trying out after the buffs. Either way, jump in, straight into a knock-up after Iron setup, and then a pillar block here to the place that he wants to run. Obviously, if he's on the right side of the map, wants to run to the right, safest place for him to go, and then we force his beat and his ult there, and he's trying to defend a Phoenix. That's the guide over. I hope it was useful to you. If you like the style that I've done these in, where it's pretty much just educational, I can mirror this for every character in the game pretty much, as long as they're actually good in support. You won't see me doing Cupid or Arachne. But if you think I'm missing out on anything, then let me know. I have done these before. I will do them again if they get good responses. Or I can do faster ones. I don't mind. Just let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next one, maybe.